Well, hello. So it's been a while since my last video, and it could be a while again before I do another video after this one. But I did want to give a channel update of sorts after my last video talking about the big move and just kind of let you guys know what's going on. The few of you who I know actively follow me. I know this is not going to be my most popular video. It's mostly just going to be me talking here about moving overseas, but hopefully it'll be kind of interesting. And I know some of you have been planning moves for yourself that are similar. I've seen that in the comments, so maybe you can actually take something from this. I don't know. But I just want to talk about what's been going on, what's going to be going on, and all sorts of stuff like that. So let's get started. So first, I kind of just have to apologize for appearances here. I don't have a backlight. My face is probably all messed up. I've had some stuff done at the dermatologist recently. And by the way, everything on the right side. It's all on the right side, which coincidentally is where the window is when I'm flying. And just the perils of being a pilot, I guess. I've had basal cell carcinoma, a couple other things that I just had frozen off. It's radiation. But anyway, so yeah, my room here is all in flux. There's stuff in bubble wrap behind me. There's stuff missing that used to be here. We have to be out of this house in 7 days. I don't know how that's going to happen, but it's got to happen. But anyway, so let me talk first. I'll just recap kind of what the last video was about. My wife and I are moving together to Japan. My wife is Japanese. She's lived here now for more than 20 years. She has a green card. I have been to Japan a bunch of times. I've never lived there, but we used to run a business together that was selling Japanese products. So we used to go back and forth a couple times a year. We used to do business in Japan with Japanese companies. So I'm familiar with Japan, but it's going to be a new experience living there. And this move has kind of been a big learning process for both of us. She has never moved to Japan either, especially as a non-resident of Japan. And it turns out there are some things involved with that we didn't consider. So if you're considering a move to Japan, or really pretty much everywhere, anywhere overseas, there are really three things you need to do when you move overseas. And it doesn't sound like much, three, but there are three really big things that have a lot of moving parts. First of all, you have to get a visa. Now, there are different kinds of visas you can get. A lot of people go to Japan on a work visa, and that's kind of, when I was doing research on how I can get a visa, that's kind of the process that I was seeing most commonly. And I got a lot of misinformation from that because I'm going to be on a spousal visa. Spousal visa, your spouse sponsors you, but unlike kind of a work visa, which from what I understand, you can get after you get to Japan. Like you can go to Japan and then get the work visa. With a spousal visa, you have to get a certificate of eligibility in advance and then get the visa based on your sponsor from the certificate of eligibility. And it's basically two separate processes, and the timing of those can be a little hard to figure out. And we're actually still kind of going through that. So the certificate of eligibility normally would be through the spouse. It's a spousal visa, obviously, but since my wife is not a resident of Japan, she can't do it. So my in-laws are having to do it. So they're having to gather all these documents. We gathered some documents for them. They're having to go to the Japanese embassy in Japan to try to get my certificate of eligibility. I then take that to the Japanese consulate here for the visa. And there's something else that has to happen after my wife gets to Japan. I don't even remember what that is, but that's been a whole process in itself. And I mean, again, two processes running concurrently. And my advice to you, if you're planning a trip like this, just get an immigration lawyer. Like, it would have been so much easier. I'm sure it's expensive, but it would have been a lot easier to just not worry about all this stuff. Now that we're in it and we're like probably 75% done with it, it's probably not worth it for us. But like, we had no idea what we were doing. We made a lot of mistakes. It's still possible that I may not even be able to go to Japan with my wife. So yeah, get an immigration lawyer. It's tough to figure this stuff out on your own. So that's kind of the first thing we've been doing. Now, the second thing that you have to do is find a place to live in Japan, or wherever you're going, but in our case, Japan. To that end, we just visited Japan. I just came back from Japan, where our goal was to find a place to live. And that's really all, the whole reason we went. It wasn't a vacation or anything. We didn't really do much that was fun. We ate out some cool places. So, had some nice high-end teppanyaki, stuff like that. It was nice. But most of it was kind of dealing with this visa stuff and certificate of eligibility, and then also looking for a place to live. So the way we were trying to do that originally was there's a website. There are several websites, but there's a website called sumo.net, which is kind of like a Zillow.com here. It's all just real estate listings, and they have, stuff to buy, stuff to rent. You can just get land if you want. They have links to house builders if you want to build a house. But Japan has kind of a multiple listing service, just like we do here. And so everybody has access to the same listings of properties. So any website you go to, they're pretty much going to have the same stuff. And even if you go to a realtor directly, they're gonna all have the same properties. So we just clicked contact on some of the properties that we thought looked good to us, and we ended up visiting one of the real estate companies that was connected to one of the properties that we wanted to see. So we get to this real estate company. We're in their office, boiling hot office. It's the middle of November outside. I'm Norwegian by ancestry, so I like it a little cool. So it's 55, 60 degrees outside, which to me is already a little warm when it's as humid as it always is in Japan. But I'm not even wearing a jacket outside in weather like that. We get in this office. It's literally like 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and they have the heater on full blast. We're in there like 3.5 hours. We tell them we want to see these properties, and they say, well, it might be a little difficult because you're a foreigner. Well, my wife's Japanese. Well, but she doesn't have a residence card in Japan. So to realtors and management companies, that makes her a foreigner also. She still has a Japanese passport, still a Japanese citizen, all that, but she is not a Japanese resident, which means she is treated as a foreigner. So we're both foreigners looking for a house to rent in Japan. We spent 3.5 hours in this realtor. They take all of our information. They say, oh, well, here's some other properties you might like. Let me go talk to the manager and see if we can show these to you. Manager comes back, sorry, we can't help you because you're foreigners. So this is one of the issues with Japan. I knew about it. Japan is not particularly foreigner friendly. They are very nice people. And, once you're there, everybody's nice. Like, it's great. Like, I love the people there. But they, especially now, and it's growing more and more, but they kind of have a little problem with immigration. It's very similar to the United States right now. And it's kind of always been that way, but as there are more and more foreigners coming into the country, which they need because their population is declining, but as more and more foreigners come in, there's more and more resentment, and fewer landlords and management companies want to deal with foreigners. And I'm sure they've had problems and stuff. I mean, Japan is obviously a very kind of rules-based society, and everybody kind of follows all these unwritten and written rules, whereas people from other countries often do not. So I'm sure there have been actual problems that they don't want to deal with, but it just means foreigners are often locked out of the best properties. So we kind of knew that. I didn't think it was going to be a problem because my wife is Japanese, but it turns out we are both treated as foreigners. Very discouraging. We we're trying to figure out what to do after that because we figured every realtor is going to be the same at that point. And I just kind of took it upon myself, I guess, to search for specifically realtors that were foreigner friendly. And I ended up finding eheya.net. It's e-heya, Heya .net, if you're interested. And it's a division of a larger Japanese realty company. And they said they have an office that caters to foreigners, deals with people in English, stuff like that. Now, one thing about foreigner-friendly properties that we also knew is that a lot of them are bad properties. Like they're properties that the realtor can't get rid of any other way. Often, not always, and there may be some realtors that are different about this than others, but there are definitely scams that we knew about of realtors who just take on these kind of distressed properties that no one else wants and just tries to pawn them off onto foreigners. So we were trying very hard to avoid that. So we were also a little suspicious of eheya.net, thinking, how do we know they're not one of those realtors? They had good reviews online, which is why I decided to try them. People on Reddit, were talking about them positively. So we went, kind of figured we'd be wasting our time. Ended up talking to someone who was very nice and and I thought sounded exactly like Phaser Days, if anybody knows who that is. But, go look it up. I'll link to an interview with her. And she looked and sounded just like her. But yeah, she was from Australia. Phaser Days is from New Zealand. So I'm probably offending somebody by saying they sounded similar. But to me, they sounded similar. Anyway, she was very nice. But we weren't sure she was going to be able to help us. We showed her a couple of properties we were interested in. She also said, well, since you're foreigners, this might not work out because it's not really up to the realty company. It's up to the management company. But she went to her manager, and her manager was also very nice this time and gave her a couple more properties. She said, we can go look at these today if you want. And they looked pretty good houses, new construction, pretty much just what we were asking for. And so we went and we looked at these houses, picked one that we thought would be the best option for us, and applied on the last day that we were there. And the application is a whole thing too. I mean, a lot of trips to 7-Eleven and their multi-copy machine for filling out forms and stuff. But did all that on the last day, and on the flight back, found out we got the house. So very happy with eheya.net. And if you're a foreigner and looking for a place to live, check them out. Now, I will say everything is much more expensive than you think it's going to be. It's kind of like renting a place in New York. It's actually very similar. You're gonna see what the rent is, but then on top of that, there's going to be like 4 months of rent that you're never going to get back. Even like the deposit. I mean, she tells all her clients, our realtor told us, it's good luck, just consider that money gone. And then there's a brokerage fee, there's key money, there's an insurance fee, which in our case is half the rent. So they tell you what the rent is, and then there's insurance on top of that, and that's basically what your rent really is. I don't know why they don't just tell you. Well, I do know why, because it makes the rent sound lower than it actually is. But they're the ones charging you for that, so they may as well just include it in the rent. They don't, because it would make the rent sound too high. So it's all kind of scammy, but that's just Tokyo real estate and maybe Japan real estate in general. Big city real estate anywhere, probably. So it was pretty expensive. It was discouraging. I mean, but in the end, we got a place to live. So we are moving. We know when it's going to happen, and we're packing up right now. Now, the third thing that you have to do is extricate yourself from your current living situation. Now, if you're young, you're a renter, you don't have a lot of stuff, it's easy. You just leave. You pack up whatever you have and you go. If you have to, you break your lease, whatever. It's usually not that big of a deal. You pay an extra month's rent or whatever. If you have a house like we do and you own it, then it's a much bigger process. So we have been trying to sell our house. We've finally, hopefully, have a buyer. And again, we know when the closing date is. It's like 7 days from now. We have a large house. And, when you are moving overseas, you're not dealing with a regular moving company. You're dealing with a shipping company. And they quote you prices and stuff like that in volume, because what matters is not necessarily the weight, but how many shipping containers you're going to use. And usually, and shipping container, like an actual, like on a container ship, like that's how you move. It's by ship in a container on a container ship. Same containers you see on trains, sometimes trucks pull them around, intermodal transportation. And most of the time, like the default that they quote you is half a container. Like most houses are half a container or less. We are worried we're going to use more than one full container. Like our garage is completely full of boxes, and I'm going through room by room and still counting, like every room we still have like 4 or 5 more boxes to pack. And then we're moving all this into a smaller Japanese house, because Japanese houses are smaller. We got like the largest house we could get. And there is a point where if you try to get a house that's too large, they won't give it to you because they think you're doing something suspicious with it. Like they're afraid you're having like a whole bunch of people come over and stay there, and they don't want that. So like we got a 2-bedroom. It's a 2 SDLK. Is it SDLK or SLDK? LDK. 2 SLDK house. We have a ton of storage, but I don't know where we're going to put all our stuff. And maybe it's going to teach us that we don't actually need all this stuff. That's kind of what I'm hoping. We've gotten rid of a lot of stuff. So we'll see what happens, but there's just going to be boxes piled everywhere in this new house, I think. One cool thing about this new house, for the channel at least, is it's kind of in between 2 hard-offs. It's a 12-minute drive to 2 different hard-offs. What is a hard-off? Well, if you don't know what hard-off is, it's kind of a used electronics store. There's a used bookstore chain that's very big in Japan called Book Off, and they sell used books, DVDs, Blu-ray discs, some video games, and some video game hardware, and some of them sell other kinds of hardware as well. And I guess at some point the company realized, hey, we could just have another chain that just sells used hardware. And so that's what they did. They have Hard Off, which sells all kinds of home electronics, audio, video equipment, video games, computers, musical instruments, watches, like just all kinds of stuff that I'm into, both stuff I've featured on the channel and stuff that I haven't. And they used to have a reputation as being like just a wonderland for anyone like me, or probably you, like just rows and rows and rows of cheap used electronics. Kind of have a reputation now, as people say, like, oh, the ones in Tokyo have been picked over, prices have gone up, it's not as good anymore. And there may be some truth to that for the ones in Tokyo. Luckily, I'm not going to be in Tokyo. I'm going to be near Tokyo in what would be considered a suburb in most parts of the world. But, you know, in Japan, it just kind of just feels like part of the city. But I'm not going to say exactly where it is because I don't ever like to say exactly where I am. But it's, you know, somewhere in this ring that I'm posting right now around Tokyo. And again, there's 2 hard-offs nearby. Now, I've been to the one in Ichikawa Ono, which is not one of those 2, by the way, but that one is just a little farther away if I wanted to go to that. And I was blown away, frankly. I was like, wow. I didn't even think to take pictures because I was a little intimidated, and I was afraid they were going to kick me out. But I'll just steal some photos from Google Images or whatever right now and post them here. These are other people's photos that you're probably looking at right now, but just rows and rows. I mean, just like hard off, like their reputation used to be, and a lot of it is very cheap. Now, one of the things with hard off is you have to look at the junk section. Junk in Japan doesn't mean what it does in the rest of the world. It means anything that they are not sure about, basically. So it could just be untested. It could be something that has a small problem, like a belt that needs to be replaced. You have to look at the card that's on each product, and they're always written in Japanese. I use Google Translate, and it works fine, but usually. But yeah, I mean, like just rows and rows of like high-end turntables, for example, from the 70s, from brands like Pioneer and Sony and whatever, like, you know, like 60, 70 bucks, and nothing wrong with them. So that's just an example. I mean, they have everything. They have, you know, old VCRs, old amplifiers, old they had rows and rows of laserdisc players, which is something I've never featured on my channel. I do love laserdisc players. I have one, not a great one. I would love to get a better one, and I probably can once I go to Japan. I'm going to need to figure out some system where, you know, I buy this stuff, fix it up, pass it on, because I can't keep it all in the house. But I'll figure that out. But hopefully it does mean that I'll have like a never-ending stream of stuff that I can get for the channel. And it's my hobby too. I don't mind buying stuff. So, you know, I like to just buy stuff, tinker with it, and then put it on the channel. It's not really about making money for me, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, and that's pretty much what's happening. So this is almost definitely the last video you're going to see from this house. And the next time you see me will probably be in the rental house. We're going to rent for however long we need to, and then we're going to find, we're either going to buy a house or build a house. We haven't figured that out yet, but so we're going to be living out of boxes for a while, but I'll hopefully find some kind of setup I can use to shoot videos for the channel. And yeah, it's exciting. It's extremely stressful. I will tell you, extremely stressful. I can't wait for this to be over, but I also can't wait to be there and you know, just be eating the great food that they have there, and you know, dealing with the people who are all very nice, and just be done with all this stuff. I'm gonna miss this house. We've been here 5 years now. Moved here from New York. My early videos on the channel were shot in New York when I lived there, and I am a New Yorker, native New Yorker. I didn't know if I was gonna like it here. I'm in Arizona right now. But I basically do. I mostly do like it here. Obviously, it's sunny most of the time. It does get hot, but it's sunny. I hate rain. I'm going to have a problem with that in Japan. I hate rain. I hate humidity. It's not humid here most of the time. Wide open spaces. Obviously, Phoenix is very dense. I'm not in Phoenix itself again, but it's pretty dense. It's getting to be more like LA, which is awful. But outside Phoenix is still pretty wide open. You know, we drive 2 miles down the road. We're completely in the wilderness, like not even the suburbs. It's just total wilderness. I love that. There are crazy people here, just like anywhere. And the level of crazy in Arizona is just off the charts among the people who are crazy. There's probably fewer of them than there were in New York. But those that are crazy here are just are scary crazy. So that's kind of the one thing. Most of the people in Arizona, I love them. They're like people in Japan. They're just so nice. And but the ones that are crazy are just, they're beyond help. And I don't ever want to be in contact with them. So yeah, that's kind of the one thing. But generally, I do like it here. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss the desert. I love the desert. But Japan is going to be fun. Anyway, yeah, that's about it for the moment. So, you know, for those of you who do care, thanks for sticking with me. I did originally mean for this video to be on the main or the secondary channel, but should have said this in the beginning. But no, it affects the main channel. It's just kind of an update for the channel, so I put it here. Anyway, yeah, that's it for the moment. Next time you'll see me, we'll be in Japan, and I hope we are both looking forward to that. So that's it. Bye-bye.